From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Briefing. Who's going to pay for the Great Wall of Trump? Well, new reports indicate that Trump is privately pushing the U.S. military to fund construction of his signature project. Last week, when Congress passed the budget, Trump was very upset to find out that there was no money appropriated for his Great Wall. Now, I know what you're saying. Lawmakers did appropriate $1.6 billion for the border wall, but that doesn't include any money for Trump's new prototype ideas. That money's only for reinforcing already created barriers. Oh no! What are we going to do? Well, Trump suggested to Mad Dog Mattis and congressional leaders that the Pentagon could fit the bill, citing that the border is a national security risk. Trump is seeking $25 million to pay for the border wall. Will the Pentagon be a pushover and penny up? It would be unlikely for the military to fund the wall, according to White House and Defense Department officials. The Pentagon has plenty of money, but reprogramming it for a wall would require votes in the Congress, and those votes the president just doesn't seem to have, right? A senior Pentagon official said that taking money from the current 2018 budget for the wall would require an act of Congress. Trump is desperate to get the wall in production, and this might be his last shot at it if he wants to have it happen, during his first term. Last week, Trump appointed John Bolton to replace H.R. McMaster as his national security advisor. Now, there had been rumors in the past that Trump didn't want to hire John Bolton unless he shaved his porn stash. I suppose it was some sort of caveat to employment. Well, it turns out Trump no longer does any denying, doesn't deny loving porn stars, so John Bolton can keep his mustache. Cat's out of the bag. Thanks, Stormy Daniels. Well, this appointment sends shockwaves through the State Department. And it's not because of his sweet porn stash. No, Bolton has a reputation for having an aggressive, to say the least, style of management and prolific disagreements with the basic culture of American diplomats. He's widely known to want some war, war with North Korea, war with Iran, and he was an outspoken supporter of the Iraq War. He just loved it. Individuals close to Bolton say they expect him to clear house at the NSC and remove staffers that are viewed as allies of H.R. McMaster. In a surprising and rare interview, Jimmy Carter, you might not remember him, he was the president of the United States, and he's about as old as dust, but I'll tell you, that guy is sharp as a razor's edge. I loved the interview. Well, Carter came out and said that Trump's hiring of John Bolton will go down as the worst choice Trump has made yet. And that's saying a lot. I mean, Trump has made some pretty bad decisions. I don't know if I don't know how to take that. That's crazy. Bolton has a reputation for being verbally abusive and physically abusive. A government subcontractor has accused Bolton of throwing a tape dispenser at her and chasing her down the halls of a Russian hotel in 1994 when he worked as a lawyer. Okay? One State Department employee with experience said, when you're dealing with Bolton, you're fine, as long as you're not within throwing distance. Well, that makes me feel better. This week, Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens suggested that the Second Amendment should be repealed. That sounds pretty dramatic, right? But actually, it's not quite as crazy as it sounds. He expressed that the concern of a national standing army posing a threat to the security of separate states is a relic of the 18th century. It's just not going to happen in a modern age. He also expressed that repealing the amendment would be a simple but dramatic action that would move Saturday's marchers closer to their objective than any other possible reform. He claims it would eliminate the only legal rule that protects sellers of firearms in the United States, unlike every other market in the world. It would make our school children safer than they've been since 2008 and honor the memories of the many, indeed far too many, victims of recent gun violence. Almost no national Democrats are calling for a repeal of the Second Amendment, yet, as mostly they're just pushing for universal background checks and a ban on assault weapons. We still live in a country where a sizable majority of people very much believe in the Second Amendment. They even might believe in background checks on gun ownership. A bipartisan Fox News poll in 2013 showed 72% of Americans worried that banning certain guns would lead to the erosion of other constitutionally protected rights. But think about this. Just because you repeal the Second Amendment, you take away the constitutional right to bear arms, that doesn't make owning a gun illegal. It just means you don't inherently have the right to it. You don't have to have a constitutional right to own a car. They're not just illegal, but you have to earn the right to drive. Are we getting cold feet on our future with robots? More than a week after one of Uber's self-driving cars struck and killed a pedestrian in Tempe, Arizona, and just days after a driver of a Tesla crashed and was killed when he crashed his car in Mountain View, California on the 101, government officials and technology firms have begun reconsidering the deployment of some autonomous features and technology amid fears that it's just not ready for public testing. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, he banned self-driving cars, Uber self-driving cars specifically, from driving in the state on Monday. He says that he's very disturbed by police videos showing one of the company's self-driving cars striking and killing a pedestrian. Computer chip maker NVIDIA suspended its autonomous vehicle tests Tuesday. NVIDIA supplied the computing technology for Uber's self-driving cars, including the same model involved in last week's crash. Lyft President John Zimmerman said, "The tragedy in Arizona is something that I think should give everyone pause. But you also have to remember the goal of autonomy." I have such a hard time with that word. Where you have about 100 people dying every day from vehicle-related accidents, the goal, I think, is to take that to zero. Now, that's what he says, but I wholeheartedly believe that. We have deaths already happening every day that we don't talk about, and our goal is to get fewer. I think that road could be through robots. Now, I don't want robots flipping my burgers. I want a human being. I don't want robots at the end of my line at the grocery store. I want human interaction. I want jobs. But I'm pretty sure self-driving cars, if given like the money and time and research, will bring down traffic accidents. Every 10 years, the US of A conducts a census which is mandated by the Constitution. It has to take place. It's required. The U.S. Census figures are based on an actual count of persons living in the U.S. Now, it's everybody, okay? That's citizens, non-citizens that are legal residents, non-citizens that are long-term visitors, and undocumented immigrants, aka illegal immigrants. Now, this year, the Justice Department has requested the Census Bureau add a question regarding citizenship to the 2020 survey, which this has never happened before, and the Census Bureau decided that it was going to honor the Justice Department's request and include this question on citizenship. Now, this is pretty controversial because these numbers are very important, and when you ask somebody about citizenship, experts argue that it's going to dampen participation because illegal immigrants are going to be afraid that that information collected could be used to deport them. That's a no-brainer, duh. It's self-preservation. It's going to mess up our numbers. Now, the census informs key decisions like government spending, allocation of House seats, and electoral votes. There's an estimated 11 million immigrants living in this country without legal status. Democratic attorney generals in several states said on Tuesday that they would bring legal action to stop the Trump administration from adding this question to the 2020 census.